Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at NHL 15 before it was patched. So just the other day, we went into NHL 15 on the Xbox One and just took a look at everything, how lacking it was, how little was actually in the game, and how much of a disappointment it overall was. The thing is, it was a lot worse. So NHL 15 was actually patched multiple times, bringing features back that should have been in at launch. And I've been able to access a version of the game where it was at launch. So we're going to be taking a look at that today and seeing just how much worse it actually was when this game was released. But before we do that, let's go take a look at the patch notes that were put out online. We can still find them today. We can see everything that was added later, and we'll see everything that wouldn't be included in this version of the game. So luckily, this blog post is still on the NHL website. I don't know why it says NHL 24 right there. That's a little weird, but everything here came later on and we should not be seeing in this version. So starting out here, apparently coming in September of 2014 at this point, is playoff mode. So you could not go in, you could not set your 16 teams or even less. I think you can customize it from anywhere from 4 to 16 and run your own playoffs. So that's something that we should not be seeing in this version of the build. Be a pro, coach feedback. So I'm probably not going to show this off. I really just don't care about starting up a Be a Pro save just for that. But that's something that you could not do at the launch of the game. 3 stars of the game, there's no presentation, but after the game, at least in the main menu, it would show you the top players. Apparently that was not in. Hockey Ultimate Team, unfortunately we can't check any of this stuff out with the servers being down at this point. Also something that we can't check out itself, online team play, but we can see in the menu, it should be in that bottom left hand corner. In this build we're going to be checking out, it will not be there. So another one of those modes, another one of those things people like to play, stripped away. And then the thing I find most hilarious, the fact that there was no draft in GM mode. I've brought this up multiple times. Today I will show you what that looked like in game. So if possible, try and remember all the list of those things that we just went over. That was patched in from September to October to November to wherever long this game was being supported. A lot of people say this game was like a beta, with it continually being built upon from the version that was first released to the game it probably should have been a little bit closer to at the end. But let's go take a look at the beginning. NHL 15, how did it launch? So syncing problem here. None of this stuff matters. Like I said, unfortunately, servers are long since shut down, so we can't really go in and check anything out there. So looking at the initial main menu, it looks pretty similar to the post patches. Going over here to the play screen, you will see Be a GM is now in that corner where that would be replaced with online team play when that was added in later on. One thing I do want to show off here, it wasn't actually mentioned in the patch notes, but it's something that was just absolutely insane about NHL 15 that made no sense. So you could not edit any players in NHL 15 at launch. So going to active roster, obviously we're not going to go there to do any edits. We're not going to go to create a player. And then you have edit lines, player movement. Neither of those sounds like the place to go to edit players, so let's go to view roster. So the Anaheim Ducks, if I go here on any single player, the only options I have is to sort and go back. So if there is a rating, if there is a potential, there is a player type that you guys did not agree with in NHL 15, right off the launch, you guys could not go and fix that. Like, how is that even a thing? It's absolutely insane. This is something I just learned about very recently. Again, I didn't play NHL 15 when it first came out. I played it on old gen on the 360, so I avoided a lot of these issues. But it's insane how this was ever released. It is honestly, it's mind-boggling. It really, really is. So going back to the main menu here, again, obviously Hockey Ultimate Team, they have that up there, that working. But outside of that, like, it's so limited what you can do. You have 2 offline modes, Be a GM, Be a Pro, that are so stripped down that there's nothing really there to it. So let's go jump into a Be a GM mode here, and let's go and take a look at that, see if they added anything else later on outside of the draft? To my knowledge, I don't think so. So let's go start up in GM mode here with the Coyotes and see what the lay of the land was looking like here early on right after release. So jumping in, the initial screen looks very similar. Interesting that they still did have assigned scouts. So if I wanted to go and send my scout out to the OHL, I can still go do that. 6 weeks, and Connor McDavid, Dylan Strome, those guys are still in the game. So I'm curious, with no NHL entry draft, is everyone just kind of auto-assigned? Is everyone just auto-drafted? I honestly don't know. And that's something we're going to find out very, very soon here. Just looking at the rest of GM mode here, I don't believe anything else was added in post-launch outside of the draft. Again, I could totally be wrong with that. If I am, definitely let me know. But let me go ahead here and end up simulating here toward the NHL entry draft, and we'll see what happens once we get there. Sorry, one more quirk here about this game that I found before we get to the draft itself. So in the calendar here, let's say we want to go and sim this game against the Senators. So let's go simulate up to the date. Everything looks great. So we're on the game with Ottawa. You would just think, let's go sim the game. Let's do a real-time sim. If I hit the button, it doesn't actually take you to a real in-game sim. It just simulates the game and moves you ahead in the calendar. So they didn't even have the real-time sim here in NHL 15. Again, I don't know if that was something that was patched in later, if that came in NHL 16, but yeah, I just found that out and I wanted to mention it in the video. Alright, so now for the part that I think a lot of us wanted to see. We are 1 week out here from the NHL entry draft. So let's just do it here from the main screen. Sim to draft, let's hit that. 1 week later, what is going to end up happening? So Pro Scout comes up like normal, and it goes straight to sim to re-sign stage. So we are currently on the NHL draft itself. I'm hitting A, I cannot do a thing. And here the only options I have is to advance A and sim to the re-sign stage. So like I said, I'm kind of curious what happens to these players. So let's go and sort these standings here. Let's go take a look at the bottom teams, and we'll see if we can find some of the better prospects. See if we can find out where a guy like Connor McDavid ends up here in the technically not technically NHL draft. And another weird thing about this, since we're technically on the draft day itself, even though it's kind of the re-sign stage as well, we can still make trades here. So if I wanted to go trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson for Nick Ritchie, even though we're technically in the re-sign stage, I can still do that. This game was just a total mess, and yeah, I don't know. So let's go and simulate ahead here. So back on July 1st, let's go see if we can find some of these higher rated prospects. So some of those bottom rated teams, I believe Buffalo was one of them when we just took a look. Let's go to rookie skaters. No one here that really stands out. Maybe it was Nick Markley. So obviously they didn't get the first overall pick. Tampa, I think, was second last. Yeah, Nick Milosh. Yeah, there you go. So he is the third overall pick in 2015. Even though they didn't have a choice, he was their draft pick. That's too funny. So let's go to Philly. I don't know who their pick would have been. Pittsburgh. Honestly, it just kind of goes through this here until we can find somebody of a higher up name. Toronto has nobody. Vancouver, no one have noticed. Hey, there he is. Connor McDavid, the Winnipeg Jet. 74 overall, elite potential. Unfortunately, you couldn't change that to franchise just because there was no player editing, but that is beside the point. McDavid, first overall in 2015. But that's everything I had to look at here in GM. Let's continue to look at NHL 15. So going over to the gameplay itself, obviously no 3 stars of the game presentation ever in this game, but even once the game is completed, you could not see it in the end of the game recap, which in later on builds of the game, that was patched in. Since this is the initial build, there is nothing. So yeah, what a mess of a release this was. Like, we literally looked at this game a couple of days ago, and it was definitely not great. But that's after they ended up adding things in. Going to moments here, yeah, nothing really would have changed here. Moments obviously would have been uploaded as they were added in throughout the year, so nothing to note there. But yeah, it's just very interesting. I never actually knew it was possible to go back and see games after they were patched. So to be able to go and look at how everything was when it was released is actually pretty interesting. But overall, I think that is going to do it for today's video. Always love messing around with these old games, seeing what came before, and seeing some stuff that obviously needs to be avoided for future games. But that is going to do it for today's video. I will see you all in the next one.